Hey, this is Dustin with Boomers Outdoors, and I'm in the mountains today of North Alabama. And what I'd like to do is do a gear review. I'm always looking for budget-friendly backpacking items, because if you're just getting into backpacking or thinking about doing it, and you look at some of the tents and the gear out there, you can find sticker shock take place really quickly. Some tents, good quality tents can run $300 and up to even $1,000. I've seen backpacks, $200 to $400, $500, and then sleeping bags anywhere from a couple of $100 all the way up to $1,000. But do you have to have equipment that good? Now, as a general rule of thumb, the lighter weight something becomes, the more expensive it becomes. That's with tents, that's with backpacks, that's with sleeping bags. But unless you're going on a thru hike, you don't have to have the most expensive and lightweight equipment. Unless you just have the money, and if you do, by all means, spend it however you'd like to. But if you'd like to get into backpacking and not break the budget and break the bank, then I can tell you can find some good quality gear, not the best, but really good quality gear at some great prices if you're willing to do some shopping. Now, I want to dissuade people from just going over to Walmart and buying a $30 Ozark Trail tent when you can spend just a little bit more and get a really good quality tent. Last year, I did a review on the Lynx 2 by Alps Mountaineering, and that was a $180 tent that I got on Amazon on sale for $65, and it was a good two-person tent. But this year I found something even better. So what I want to do today is a review on the Stoic Driftwood three-person tent. This tent also comes in a two-person tent. Now, the three-person tent lists for $209, but I found it on sale at Steep and Cheap for $47.25. The two-person version, which is $180 normally, $189, it was on sale for $42.25. And this tent, I believe, is even a much better tent than that Lynx 2 by Alps Mountaineering. So I want you to stay with me today. I'm going to break this tent down, set it up for you, go over the pros and cons of it, and I think you'll find that this is a really good buy. If you're just going out there, anywhere from 5 to 10 or 12 times a year, or even less, and you're wanting a good quality tent that doesn't break the bank, let me recommend the Stoic. Now, some of you may be saying, who in the world is Stoic? Never heard of them before. Well, Stoic is owned by backcountry.com, and backcountry.com makes really good deals on equipment, all types of equipment from all the manufacturers. But this is their own kind of private label. And I'm going to tell you, I found out this tent, although it's not made of the best quality materials, it's made of good quality materials, this tent is really well made. So let me take this thing apart and show you what you get with the Stoic three-person backpacking tent. So what do you get with the Stoic Driftwood three-person backpacking tent? Well, you get a really nice carrying case. It has cinch straps on it and has a wide open mouth. But let's take a look inside this thing and break it down to the different components. So with the tent, we have the poles. There's two poles in here. They are 9.5 millimeter anodized aluminum. One pole that covers the majority of the tent, and then one brow pole. And 9.5 millimeters is a pretty good sized pole. It's bigger than most of your poles. You also get 8 stakes in a nice little carrying pouch. There's 8 of these. These are 18 millimeter aluminum stakes. Not the best in the world, but they're pretty lightweight. And you really, to be honest with you, could probably use 2 more stakes, but I'll show you that in a minute. Then you get the fly in the body of the tent. The fly is this color they call Cherry Peak. It also comes in a gray if you don't like this one, but this is the one that was the low price. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. And then you get the body of the tent. So let's set this puppy up and see what it looks like set up. So I always like to set the tent up without the fly for a couple of reasons. Number one, it shows you the pole construction. Also, it shows you how much mesh a tent has. Now, believe it or not, the more mesh it has, the more expensive it is. And this tent, while it's not all mesh on the body, it is a lot of mesh. Now, if you compare that to the Lynx 2 by Alps Mountaineering, it is a lot less mesh, which means in warmer weather, it's probably not going to be that good a tent. It did really good when we took it to Glacier. We got down in the 30s, and that tent kept us plenty warm. In fact, it was about 8 degrees warmer inside the tent than outside. But you want a tent, if you're going to go in warmer weather, you want a tent to have a lot of mesh. And this tent has a good bit of mesh. I would say at least 2/3 of the tent body are mesh. Another feature that makes this tent superior to the Lynx II by Alps Mountaineering is the brow pole. If you'll notice, the sides of this tent are nearly vertical. And what that does, it gives you a lot more shoulder room for 2 people when you sit up. Now, the Lynx II and many other inexpensive tents use poles that crisscross. What essentially that does is makes the tent narrow as you move toward the top. So when 2 people sit up, your shoulders are not only touching, but they're also touching the sidewalls. So this design, although it's a little heavier, gives you a lot more room in the shoulder area. And that is something that's really neat. So let's get the fly on this thing, and then we'll talk about the specs on this tent. So this is the tent with a fly on it. And as you can see, it is cherry peak. Not cherry pink, but cherry peak, like the peak of a mountain, which is really a bright orange. Now I know some of you are saying, now I know why it's so inexpensive. Who would want this color? Well, it does come in a gray. But think about it. If you're in the backcountry and you need to be rescued, what do you want? Gray that blends in with the surrounding rocks? Or do you want cherry peak? You could probably see this from 10,000 feet up in an airplane. Just saying. Well, the fly comes with 2 vents on the ridge. These are actually on the door, and they have nice strong stays, which is really nice. Let me show you something that's unusual about the fly, and maybe one of the drawbacks on this tent. I don't know, it's not a huge deal. It only comes with 4 guy out points, 2 at the top on each end and 2 at the bottom on each end. Now, I didn't tell you this when I first broke it down. It does come with 2 guy out ropes. They're pre-attached at the top. I moved them to the bottom to give it better ventilation, because I don't think that the ridge vents are enough ventilation by themselves. And this fly lays right up to the side, so I pulled them out to give it more ventilation. If you'll notice, the fly does come all the way to the ground, and this is kind of even on a hill, so it has excellent protection from the elements. But you do need that ventilation. Now, you do need to get 2 more guy-out ropes, and really 2 more stakes. You could take 1 from each corner, caddy corner off the floor and use them, but it really needs 2 more stakes and 2 more guy-out ropes. Maybe that was a cost-saving measure. I don't know. How much could 2 stakes and guy-out ropes cost? But what is this tent made out of? Well, as with most tents in this price range, it's made of a 75 denier polyester material. Has 190 thread count. The fly has a polyurethane coating that gives it a 3,000 millimeter waterproof rating, which is excellent. The body of the tent is made of a 40 denier no-seam mesh, which is polyester, and the material on the body of the tent, of course, is your 75 denier polyester. The floor is 75 denier polyester. It also has a 3,000 millimeter waterproof rating on it, which is really good. What are the dimensions of this tent? Well, the 3-person is 89 inches in length, 63 inches in width, 42.5 inches tall. The vestibules are 10.5 square feet each. This thing is spacious inside, I'll tell you. The 2-person is 84 inches in length, 52.5 inches in width, which will accommodate 2 25-inch sleeping pads and 40 inches in height. Now, the weight. The weight of the 3-person version is 6 pounds. Now, I know some of you are saying 6 pounds, but think about it. If you split that between 2 people, that's 3 pounds each. The 2-person version weighs 5 pounds and 11 ounces. But let's go inside this thing. I want to show you on the inside. This thing is really nice on the inside. Okay, so I didn't mention it a minute ago, but all the seams in this tent are taped, except for the door seams where the zippers are. They're not taped, but they are covered by this little rain strip. And when I tested it, no rain got in there. They're held in place by 2 strips of Velcro. The door has 2 zippers, so you can zip it from the bottom up or from the top down. If you want extra ventilation at night, you can zip it from the top down. Very smooth zippers. And I want to show you something else about the door, which is really neat. So I don't know if you've ever experienced this before with your door, but a lot of times these little toggle strips are so small that you just have to fumble and fight with them. Look how long these are. These are extra long, so when it comes to rolling up your door, tying it off, that's easy peasy. That took some forethought just to make them a little bit longer, and it makes it so much easier than other tents I've had. Okay, here's another thing I really like about this Stoic tent, and that's the door is an A shape. It has 2 zippers, and when you unzip this thing, look how much room you have to get in. That's pretty amazing. Another thing is right behind each door is a pocket. You can actually stuff the door inside the pocket and the door's completely out of the way. I mean, look at this. So that's good to get in this puppy. So let's look inside and see what we've got inside the Stoic backpacking tent. So inside the Stoic tent, we have plenty of pocket space. There's a large pocket there, a large pocket there. If you notice, they're up high on the wall. We also have the corner pocket here, which you can stuff the door in. I'm not sure it's made for that, but if you come around to this side, you'll see I do have the door stuffed in there. You also have double pockets on this side, which is really neat. And up above, we do have a gear loft that is detachable. This tent actually has more storage pockets than my Kelty All-In 3. And the fact that they're up on the wall like that makes it even better. You've been in, you've been in a tent when you've stored your stuff beside your sleeping pad or sleeping bag and just you're scrounging for it in the middle of the night. These you can find really easy. So let's look at the size of this thing. Just how big is it? I'm going to put my feet at the bottom of the tent and lay down. I'm a good almost a foot from the wall over here, and I've got probably at least a foot, and I'm 6'2" over my head, and my feet are not touching. When you sit up in here, now my shoulder is a good 4 inches from the wall, and look, I can't even touch the other side without leaning over. I've got to move over nearly to the middle to reach over. So this tent has a ton of room, which my wife likes. She likes to have a lot of room, and actually I do too, even if the tent's a little bit heavier. Like I said earlier, you know, this tent has a ton of room for 2 people. You could technically get 3 in here. Really, 2 people and a child would work pretty good in this tent. But let me get out of this tent and go over the pros and cons, and we'll close this video out. Okay, so what are the pros and cons of the Stoic Driftwood tent? Well, let's go over the pros first. This is made of good quality materials. No, it's not your sil nylon or your Dyneema, but it is a heavy-duty polyester. The seams are taped. It is waterproof. I did test that out to make sure it didn't leak. It has a 3,000 millimeter waterproof rating on the fly and the floor, and that's really good. The overall design of this tent is good. The brow pole gives it a lot of shoulder room. It's very spacious inside. And then the pockets on the inside of this tent, I'm really kind of amazed. There are more pockets in this tent, and they're better located than a lot of your more expensive tents. Also, for an inexpensive tent, it does have a lot of mesh on the body of the tent. And that's a big difference between it and some of the less expensive or other tents in this price range. I looked on Amazon and different places, and there's a lot of tents made by your well-known companies that are in this spec range, the 6-pound, about this same size polyester tents. They're selling right now for $199 or more. Now I know this tent is normally $209, and I got it for $47.25, which is just, that's why it's steep and cheap. But even Backcountry had it on sale, I think, for $62 and something. It's right now, I think it's on sale for $104, but at $104, this is still an awesome tent. Very spacious and very roomy inside. So what about the cons on this tent? Well, there are a couple. First of all is the weight. The 3-person version weighs 6 pounds. The 2-person version weighs 5 pounds and 11 ounces. Now I know my ultralight friends are thinking 6 pounds for a tent. But if you split that between 2 people, that's only 3 pounds each, and that's very doable. Another thing that's strange about this tent, it only has 4 guy-out points, 2 on each end, and it only comes with 2 guy-out ropes. Now, of all places to cut costs, but guy-out ropes, you can get those anywhere for nothing. But with only 4 points, I don't know how well it would do in wind. I've not taken it out in real windy conditions, but I think with all the stakes in the bottom, in the floor, and in the fly, and then those 4 guy-out points, I think you would be okay. Of course, the other thing, it is a polyester tent, which is a little bit cheaper material than your sil nylon, and of course than your Dyneema. But you know what? I really like this tent. I have a Kelty All-In 3-person backpacking tent. It weighs a pound less than this, and it is sil nylon. But this tent, as far as inside, it is just as nice as the Kelty All-In 3. And remember, I only gave $47.25 for this. That was during a pre-Labor Day sale. You go out there and look, and you can find some great items at super low prices. So I encourage you, don't waste your money on the real cheap stuff. Find something that's a little bit better material. Hey, I know we haven't made a lot of backpacking videos this year. We've had a lot going on. My wife, Karen, was diagnosed with breast cancer back in April. She's had 2 surgeries, and now she's going through radiation. She's just finishing up on her radiation, so she's still real weak. We're going to get out, not she and I at the time, but my son and I are going to the Wind River Range in about a week, and we're going to do some backpacking out there. And then in November, when Karen gets to feeling better, we've already got a couple of trips planned, maybe in November or even in December. So we are going to make some more backpacking videos. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you out on the trail sometime. Bye.